Good evening, and welcome to IBC's Wednesday night prayer meeting. We are going to start with a song, so if you'll stand and turn in your hymnals to number 590, we'll sing one of my personal favorites, Sound the Battle Cry. Sound the battle cry, see the foe is nigh, raise the standard high for the Lord. Gird your armor on, stand firm everyone, rest your cause upon his holy word. Rouse then soldiers, rally round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna! Christ is captain of the mighty throng. Strong to meet the foe, marching on we go, while our cause we know must prevail. Shield and banner bright, gleaming in the light, battling for the right we ne'er can fail. Rouse and soldiers, rally round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna! Christ is captain of the mighty throng. O thou God of all, hear us when we call, help us one and all by thy grace. When the battle's done and the victory's won, may we wear the crown before thy face. Rouse and soldiers, rally round the banner, ready, steady, pass the word along. Onward, forward, shout aloud, Hosanna! Christ is captain of the mighty throng. Thank you. You may be seated. So we're doing a two-part series this week and next week. We're going to be taking a look at the life of David, the Reader's Digest condensed version, because the life of David could take 6 months if I did my normal Sunday school type lessons, because I tend to get carried away. So, we're first going to look at three men, three notable historical and biblical figures. So I'd like you to turn, actually, in the New Testament first, to James chapter 2, verse 23. And I say these figures are notable because of, well, you'll see in just about 2 minutes. James 2:23 says, "And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness. And he was called the friend of God." What a title. The friend of God. I sure like to have God for my friend. So Abraham is a notable figure. Next we're going to turn to Deuteronomy 34 and verse 10. And look at another notable historical figure. Deuteronomy 34:10 says, "And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face." How about that? How'd you like to be known by God face to face? One day, not today. And finally, we're going to take a look at a couple of more verses. 1 Samuel 13. And actually, I think we'll start in verse 13. The verse I'm after is 14, but oh my.
There we go. This is Saul and Samuel. And, you may recall Saul was getting ready to fight the Philistines, and he was waiting. And Samuel was late, at least according to Saul's timetable. And so Saul decided he was going to go ahead and make a sacrifice. And actually, we'll go back to verse 12. Saul says, "Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering." Whose job was it to offer burnt offerings? Yeah, it wasn't Saul's. So he did a boo-boo. And then Samuel says to Saul, "Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart. And the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee." Now, let's jump to Acts 13. Verses 21 and 22. And it says there, again, Acts 13, starting in verse 21. "And afterward they desired a king," speaking of Israel, "and God gave unto them Saul the son of Cis, a man of the tribe of Benjamin, by the space of 40 years. And when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which shall fulfill all my will." So you see, in 1 Samuel, when Samuel's telling Saul that God's looking for a man after his own heart, we know who that man is. Acts tells us that man was David, in case there was any doubt. So David is a man after God's own heart. What made David a man after God's own heart? Well, we'll look at that. We're going to look at some very familiar passages. I mean, most of us have been hearing stories of David from, if you've been around church for any length of time at all. You know what, David and Goliath, David and Bathsheba, David and Saul, and all those things. But we're going to look at a few sections, and what I would like to do, we're going to do this in an interactive manner. Because I know you all know a lot of this stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it, and what you're going to do is you're going to teach me, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at first 1 Samuel chapter 17. One of the most famous sections on David and Goliath. What can you tell me about David and Goliath? Any details that stick out in your mind? Just tell me what you got. Oh.
David was small, Goliath was big.
Okay, David was small, Goliath was big. I'll repeat things unless I don't know for the people that are online if they can hear, so I'll repeat everything, all right? Saul, what do you got?
David trusted the Lord and didn't even need armor.
David trusted the Lord and didn't need armor. David said, the battle is the Lord's. What do you got?
David knew what the battle was about, and yet Goliath mocked God before all the nation of Israel.
Goliath mocked God before all the nation of Israel, and that didn't sit right with David. And David knew, he knew the battle was about, there was a more to the battle than just Israel and the Philistines. David beat Goliath. Yeah, he did. How long did it take him? What did he take him with? A sling. And what? A stone. How many stones did it take? One. How many stones did he have? 5. Why do you have 5 stones? Goliath had 4 brothers. That's right. And if you look it up, I don't know if you've looked into Goliath. It talks about Goliath and his sons, and you don't want to get confused between Goliath's sons and his brothers, because if you look into the Hebrew, the word where it talks about the sons of the giant was not Goliath. It's referring to the giant, Goliath's dad. And when it talks about the sons of the giant, it wasn't talking about Goliath. It was talking about Rapha, which was Goliath's dad. He had 5 sons. Goliath had 4 brothers. So there you go. David had 5 stones. He must have known it. There was 1 for each. So I think, he was trusting God. It's not that he doubted that he was going to need more than 1 stone. What else do we know? Laura.
After David killed him with the 1 stone, he beheaded him with Goliath's own sword.
He took off his... David did not have a sword until he killed Goliath and took his sword and then used that to lop off his head and take it back to the king. Any other details that come to mind? Now I'm thinking in my own mind. I think you covered most everything that I was going to cover, so we're good. So in this case, David trusted the Lord. He said, the battle is the Lord's. He told Saul, I said, hey, this uncircumcised Philistine is defying the armies of the living God. It wasn't the armies. It was the living God that David was concerned about. He wasn't going to have it. So he said, nobody else wants to fight him? I'll fight him. You remember? This is another point that I meant to bring out is, every day Goliath would come out and taunt the Israelites saying, send a man to fight me. And, if he kills me, we'll be your servants. If I kill him, you'll be our servants. When David killed Goliath, did they hold up their end of that bargain? No, they ran. So in that case, what do you think? Well, how was David's behavior there? Do you think he was a man after God's own heart in that situation? Yeah, I'd say so. Let's see. Now, right after that, if you look in chapter 18, right after that event, there's 3 things that happen in the next chapter, okay? 1, it talks about David and Jonathan's friendship. As a result of the Goliath incident, Jonathan and David got tight, real tight. And Jonathan gave David his armor, and basically is saying, I know you're going to be the next king. He was acknowledging that. So Jonathan and David were tight. And after that battle, after they routed the Philistines and got them out of there, they're coming back, and something happens that changes a lot of stuff. Anybody remember what that is? They're coming back into town, Saul and David and the rest of the army, and the ladies of the town are out there singing and dancing. And what are they singing? Saul hath killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul didn't like that very much, and got jealous of David. And so Saul comes up with a plan. He wants to get rid of David, but what's his plan? This is a unique plan to get rid of David. I don't know if I could ever thought of that. Do you remember what his plan was? It's in chapter 18. Yeah, to have him marry his daughter. Yeah, it says, I'll make him my son-in-law, and I'll let the Philistines kill him. That way I'm not guilty of it. The Philistines will take care of this for me. So David didn't think he was worthy of being the king's daughter, and Saul sends his servants to talk to David and talk him into it. And he says what did he want for a dowry? 100 foreskins of the Philistines. Yeah. And what did David produce? 200 foreskins of the Philistines. He was going to marry the first daughter, whose name I forgot. I think it also started with an M, but he ended up marrying there it was, Mirab. Yeah, thank you. Mirab. If I was up there, I'd remember that. I could look it up, actually. But she got married off somewhere along in between there somewhere, so I'm not sure how much time passes in that section. But he ends up marrying Michal, and that's where that chapter ends. How was David's behavior in that situation? Can you think of how did David act? Was he acting selfishly? Was he acting unselfishly? Was he proud? Was he humble? What was David's behavior? Anybody got anything? He didn't think he was worthy of the king's daughter. Who am I to be the king's son-in-law? There you go. He acted more wisely. So, how did Saul's plan work out? David doubled the numbers, and the Philistines didn't get David. All right. Chapter 19. Now, this is showing where Saul's at. Saul tries to kill David. That's what happened in this chapter. Let me get there. I'm several chapters behind at this point. Where are we? 19, right? Yeah. So, how did he try to kill David? Yeah, threw a javelin at him. What was David doing there? Yeah, he was playing. There was what the Bible calls an evil spirit from the Lord that was troubling Saul, and they sought a cunning player of music to soothe Saul. And David was a cunning player on the harp. So, I should mention, how did David start out before Goliath? Yeah, he was a shepherd. So he was a shepherd, he is a warrior. He'll end up being king. And a musician. In more ways than one, because he wasn't just a cunning player. He wrote a lot of the Psalms. So he was really quite the musician as well. So, in this chapter, Saul sends some soldiers to get David. And do you know how did David get away this time? His wife let him out the window and, covered his tracks for him so he could get away. And her father wasn't very happy with her. So David escapes and he went to Ramah, yeah. And so Saul hears that David is at Ramah. So what does he do? He sends a bunch of guys to go get him. And what happens?
He said he was sick.
No, that was with his wife, saying he was sick or whatever. And they go in there and it's a dummy or whatever that's in the bed. Now this is after that. He's escaped to Ramah, and Saul hears that he's escaped to Ramah, whatever. I can spell. I can't pronounce very good. Anyway, so what does Saul do now?
Is that what he said, Doeg, the Edomite?
No, that comes later. Doeg's coming up. We'll get to him tonight, I'm pretty sure. Now he sends a bunch of guys to go get David, and they end up prophesying a whole lot. So he sends some more. They end up prophesying the whole lot. And I think he did it the third time. And they also prophesied. So then Saul goes himself. And guess what? Saul's prophesying. So God, what was the outcome there? How did all this happen? This was God's doing. Obviously. Just one way in which God was protecting David. David's going to be the king. Remember, he's been promised. He's going to be the king. When God says it, it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what Saul tries to do, as we will see as we go on. So, in the next chapter, once again, this is this thing with Saul. It's crazy. It goes back and forth, but it never stays in David's favor for very long. That was Saul. Anyway. So in the next chapter, Saul's after him again. And this time, Jonathan gets involved. Does anybody remember that part? What is the deal with Jonathan in this one? What does Jonathan tell David? Jonathan says, David, look, I'm going to talk to the king, and here's what we'll do, okay? If Saul is still after you, then I'll tell you one thing, and if Saul's good, then I'll tell you. Then I'll say another thing, and he's going to tell. Oh, sorry, I should back up. Well, wait, no, I shouldn't back up. I should ask you. So tell me, I forgot. What happened with Saul? What was Saul? Or not Saul? What was Jonathan going to do? I heard somebody say it. Yeah, there was an arrow involved. What was the arrow? Jonathan's going to shoot an arrow, okay? And what was the deal? If Saul was still mad at David, he's going to say, you didn't go far to find the arrow. Keep going. It's farther. But if Saul was good, he's going to say, you went too far. It's nearer. And that was going to tell David it was okay to come back. And what happened? What did he tell him? He said, yeah, keep going. It's farther. So David knew that Saul was still after him. So what do you think of David's behavior in that scenario? Good, bad, indifferent? Yeah. I'd give a lot of bonus points to Jonathan. He's a good friend. So David knows that he's mad, and he's gonna take off. So in chapter 21 we're in now. This gets mentioned a little later in the Bible, this incident. Does anybody, there's an incident with the priest, Ahimelech. And David comes to Ahimelech, and David's got a little problem. They've been on the run, and what's their situation? They're hungry. Yes, thanks. They're hungry. And so, what does he give them to eat? The showbread. Yeah, the showbread. The old showbread. They change it every day. So he's giving them the old showbread, which was supposed to go to the priest, but nonetheless. So David gets fed gets some food for his guys, the showbread, and then he flees to Gath. What do you know about Gath? Yeah, the Philistines there. Any notable Philistines from Gath? Goliath from Gath. Yeah. He flees to Gath, the home of the guy he killed. That part is a little bit beyond me. But that's where he goes. And what happens there? This is an interesting scenario. He gets there, and I think it's Achish. Is that the guy? He's the king. Let me check the name there. There's a lot of kings in here. Yeah, Achish. What happens with Achish?
David pretends he's a madman, so they can shoot the prayer and say, wait a minute, this is the guy that killed Goliath, so David pretends to be mad.
Yeah, so David feigns madness in order to survive, I guess. And because Achish is looking like, wait a minute, I don't think we want this guy around. Maybe we should get him or whatever. But in any case, he feigns madness, and Achish says, if I need a madman, you brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence. So this fellow come into my house. So David escapes from there. And then he goes to a cave in a place called Adullam. And what happens there? Not yet. That's coming. That's coming. That's soon, but not yet. In the cave of Adullam, yeah, people start coming to David. All the disenfranchised, or I think it says, I forget the word in the passage, but you know, a bunch of men come to David as he's hiding out in this cave in a place called Adullam. So he's kind of like all the people that want protection are coming to David. So he's gathering up quite a crowd. And I think it starts out at about, what, 400? It's going to be 600 before long, in any case. But anyways, a bunch of people come to David as he's there in the cave of Adullam. And then that really sad thing happens. Again, showing how far Saul has gone. And that was, Saul finds out where David's at. He's going after him. And he comes across the priest at Nob, Ahimelech. And what does he do? Somebody said it before. Doeg is the guy who saw David get the showbread, and he told Saul. So Saul comes there, and what does he do? He tells his guys to kill the priests. And what does his guys do? If you'll pardon me, he said, no way, Jose. We're not doing it. And then what happens? Yeah, that no account Doeg, he says, you guys want to do it? I'll do it. So Doeg goes and kills the priests. But one of them escapes and makes his way to David. And then what happens? David hears about this, and what's David's reaction when this escaped priest comes to him? David says, I'm going to go get Saul. This is no good. Or I'm going to go kill Doeg, the Edomite. What's his reaction? Neither one of those, by the way. Neither one of those is correct. What's that? Well, first thing he said was, this is my fault. He said, this is my fault. I went there. He helped me. I brought this upon him. He didn't blame anybody else. He didn't go after anybody else. He said, this one's on me. Think for a minute about Saul. When Saul screwed up, what was his reaction? Yeah, it was the people. Yeah. They made me keep these sheep or whatever. We haven't even gotten to that part yet. I don't think. No, not yet. So, yeah. Saul screws up. It's never his fault. It's always somebody else. So, anyway, David takes the hit. And then in the next chapter, we're in, 23 now. Now we're getting to, Saul finds out that David's hiding out in the wilderness of En-Gedi. And there's another cave this time. Yeah. But before that happens, wait. Let's back up. I think we need to go back to 23 for a minute. Yeah. Because in 23, something happens. Wait. Yeah, I was skipping ahead. Sorry. I was at 24. Yeah, 23. Oh, that's what happened. The pages stuck together. Right. So all these guys come to David. He's got a bunch of guys. David hears that there's a problem in a town called Keilah? K-E-I-L-A-H. Like I said, I can spell, I can't pronounce, whatever it is. David hears that the Philistines are fighting in this city, fighting against this city. So what does he do? He goes and delivers the city. And what are the thanks that he gets from delivering Keilah? You'll see David asks, David asked God, should I go down there? And then he asked God, said, is Saul going to come? And God says, yep, he's coming. And then he asked God, are the people going to give me up? And God said, yep, they're going to give you up. So David found out well before Saul got there. So David makes tracks, and he heads for the wilderness of En-Gedi. So now he's escaped out of there. Once again, foiling Saul's plans. With a little help from God, of course. So what about David's behavior in that scenario? I'll be asking this question frequently.
He's still not trusting God. He's still trying to do it his own way.
Who?
David. He's running rather than trusting that the Lord's going to take care of his anointed. But, God is protecting him, but he's not.
Yes.
But
And he's asking God what he should do.
yeah, but he's still running.
Well, that's true. But, as we're going to see in the next chapter, there's a reason for that. So, David heads for the wilderness of En-Gedi. Saul hears he's out there. Saul goes to get him. And this is where the cave comes in. Somebody already mentioned that cave. Now this is the cave where David's hiding out and Saul comes in. Everybody knows what happens there? What is Saul doing in the cave? Taking a nap. And what is okay. David and his men, 400 men in this cave, and Saul's in there taking a nap. I don't know how the guys could be that quiet. Saul could take a nap. I don't know, but whatever. He's in there taking a nap. What does David's guys want to do? And what do they say? They said, look, God delivered your enemy right into your hands. Here's your chance. So what does David do? You can't kill God's anointed, which is why he's running all the time. He can't fight Saul. Saul is God's anointed. So he tells his guys, we can't do this. So what does he do instead? Yeah, he cuts a piece of his skirt, of his clothes, and then when Saul wakes up and he goes outside, David says, look, I said, I had you, I could have had you, I didn't get you. Don't you understand? I'm not out to get you. And what is Saul's response? I can't remember if it's this one or the next one, but he's like, David, my son, you know. You're righteous and I'm not, and all this good stuff, and he leaves. For a little while. Not for long. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. All right. All right. One more. We're going to do chapter 25. This starts out with the death of Samuel and all of Israel mourning. And then we have a very interesting scenario where David and his men are kind of like, I don't know if David's going back to his shepherd days or whatever, but he's looking out for Nabal's goods and protecting them. And then he goes to Nabal and says, hey, Nabal, we could use a little help here. You know, I got 400 guys to feed, and they get hungry. And what does Nabal tell him? Yeah, not my problem. Yeah, that's about the size of it. And so what does David say? David says, dude, you're toast. And he's going to go get him. But what stops him? I'll tell you, he doesn't do it. His wife, Abigail, she put some stuff together, sends it to David, and intercedes, not telling Nabal he's being an idiot, but taking care of David and getting that all done. And then when Nabal hears how close he came to getting toasted, what happens? What's that? Yeah, he takes a heart attack and dies. So what does David do? He takes Abigail as his wife. And that's pretty much chapter 25, and we are out of time. So, next week, we will carry on with the life of David, a man after God's own heart.